Before we get into the video, guys, I am taking clips from Modern Warfare Warzone plays. Whether they're clutch, funny, fails, whatever you have, submit your clips, links at the top of the description, and you may get featured in a future video or on my Twitter account. I think it's safe to say that Warzone has been received pretty well, and it is hauling in the viewers on Twitch and YouTube. Now, given the free-to-play nature of the game, a lot of people are joining in to see what the fuss is about, but what if you're new to BR games or you have no idea where to start? Well, I've got you covered. What is up, everybody? Chaos here. Welcome to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed with those notifications turned on. Ring the bell. Check the box. I want to lend a hand to the new players, the beginners, the noobs, and maybe a couple more experienced players with some new moves and tricks that I've come up with for the game. Also, before anybody says anything, I'm not going to mention the thermal sight in this video because I think we all know it's going to be nerfed or possibly just removed pretty soon. As it stands right now, the thermal sight on snipers is absolutely the best setup in the game. And I thought about putting it on the list, but there's really no point. I just don't. I say we're just gonna move on without it. So without further ado, let's get into some tips for new Warzone BR players.
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground.
First off, and this is an obvious one, but I'm going to say it anyway. Stick to high ground. There's a ton of verticality in Warzone, just like in most Battle Royale games. However, you've probably noticed there is a huge height advantage in Warzone, to the point that low grounding a fight, well, it's nearly impossible. In other BRs like Apex or Fortnite, holding low ground has its advantages, but in Warzone, high ground will have a significant advantage 100% of the time. Now, for this reason, you should always be looking for the highest position possible. Whenever you or your squad find a place to hide out, you should always hunker down in the highest location and do not settle for chilling down below. Staying up high gives you better it does everything. It gives you better visibility. It allows you to dive in on enemies. It gives you a clear view to call in kill streaks. It makes you harder to shoot because of the angles, and it takes forever for people to get up to you, since most buildings and rooftops in the game will only have one or two methods of actually reaching the top. So there are many advantages to staying high in Warzone that you should literally never hold low ground unless you're forced to. It's not worth it. Next up, plant mines right away. There are currently two kinds of landmines in Warzone, those being claymores and proximity mines. Just like a normal multiplayer, they go in your lethal equipment slot and you have to swap them out for whatever grenade you're currently carrying. And as you probably noticed, mines aren't super helpful in Warzone, and you're probably going to get way more mileage out of a frag or a Simtex or a thermite. However, that doesn't mean you should just leave claymores or mines. When you find some mines you don't want to carry them, instead of dropping them and carrying something else, just plant them somewhere. So that way, you could possibly pick up a cheap, cheesy kill off an enemy that wasn't paying attention. When you don't want to carry him anymore, like I said, find a good spot nearby, throw him down, doorway, ladder, pile of loot, anything you want to. You could keep your inventory full of the stuff you want and possibly get an extra bonus kill or two once you actually leave the scene. Don't waste half an armor plate. As I'm sure you're probably aware, armor plates don't give you a full plate of armor when you put them on. In other Battle Royale games like Fortnite and Apex, when you use a healing item, they have a flat effect like plus 25 or plus 50. But in Warzone, using an armor plate will only fill up the current bar on your HUD, meaning you could get a full plate or you could get as little as 1% of one. So when you're missing armor and you have plates, try to be mindful of how much armor you'd actually get from it. If you're low on plates, it's probably a good idea to save it for the next fight and keep an eye on your armor. If you have plates to spare, by all means, fill yourself up. Just be mindful of that because armor works differently in Warzone than in other BR games. Next up, don't snipe unless you're good. And I know all of you are going to say you're good. It may sound like I'm talking trash here, but I'm not. The time to kill in Warzone, it can be long, meaning you're going to have to be putting a lot of damage into people before they go down, unless it's up close. This also means sniper rifles are extremely high risk because you have to get a headshot in order to drop someone in a single shot. And if you're not a great shot with a rifle, you're more than likely not going to hit that head. Then you'll either hit the body or you'll miss entirely, at which point you'll give up your position and you'll get sprayed down by the person you were trying to get the drop on, or you'll get third party. Snipers, they're not rare, but they're not completely common. I mean, obviously everybody's getting them out of their loadout drops. So, I mean, you're going to see a lot of snipers, okay? But if you're not confident with it, probably best to put it aside until you actually do get confident with your shot. Next up, use the loadouts for what you want. Now, there's a common mistake I'm seeing players do. When you get a loadout marker and it drops the care package for you to choose the one you want, a lot of people seem to think they have to take everything in the loadout, when in reality, you don't have to hold on to it. For example, if you have an MP7 and a SCAR, and you see the loadout with the Kar 98K, but you want to keep the MP7, you don't have to keep both guns in the loadout. When you choose the car class, you'll be dropping all your existing stuff on the ground. Then you can pick it right back up. The only permanent things in the classes are perks. So those are the things you really want to pay attention to. But if you see a good run, I mean, whatever, a gun, equipment, whatever you want in a preset class, just grab the whole class and then swap the guns out how you see fit. Don't pass on the class because you think you're locked into using everything it contains. And speaking of classes, preset your custom loadouts, people. Another thing people are missing is you can make your own loadout for the loadout drop. Before queuing for Warzone, you can go to the weapons tab on top, set your own loadouts using weapons and perks from the main game, customize your guns. You can do it all. Then when you go to a loadout crate, switch the tab from default to custom, and you'll see your custom loadouts for use. Now, a lot of people kind of just assume that since it's a Battle Royale game, there aren't any custom loadouts, and I don't blame you for thinking that because it's actually a pretty crazy new concept. But now that you know, be sure to experiment with it. Also, keep in mind that Warzone plays very differently from core multiplayer Modern Warfare, so don't make your custom classes as if you were playing a respawn mode in a multiplayer match in Modern Warfare, because you're going to have a bad time. At number 4, shoot the guy in the back. This is a tip that I give all BR players because it's kind of a universal rule of the genre. When you see a squad of enemies in the distance and none of them see you, you are presented with a choice. Let them go or open fire. Now, first of all, there's nothing wrong with letting them go if you're not confident in the fight. Second of all, if you choose to take the shot, you should always shoot at the person in the back of the group first. Shooting the person in the back will minimize your chances of being spotted by the person's teammates because they won't likely see where the bullets came from. They have to spin around. If you shoot for one of the people in the front, the teammates behind them will see the bullet trails and they will know exactly where to take cover and what direction they should be ready to fight. But if you get the person in the back, the teammates won't see the bullets and they'll have to rely on the target's communication to know where you are. And there's always a gamble in BR games, as you probably know. So if you're going to engage in a fight with another team, always attack the person in the back of the group first. At number 3, buy armor. Armor is extremely valuable in Warzone, and people don't seem to recognize the value of buying armor plates from the buy stations, and it's cheap. Armor plates are rather cheap, and you can get quite a few of them. So, with how common money is in the game and how easy it is to get a buy station after the first few minutes or so of the match, it's always worth it to buy yourself some more armor. Always have 5 if you can, plus full armor. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And if you're playing with teammates, which you probably are, you want more. You want to be able to drop for them. I mean, with how cheap armor is and how easy it is to find and money everywhere, there is not a good reason not to buy armor every time you hit a buy station and have a chance. At number 2, put stopping power on your snipers. I mentioned earlier that you shouldn't use snipers unless you're confident in hitting headshots. Well, there is an exception, and it's stopping power. Stopping power rounds are a field upgrade in Warzone that allow you to swap out one of your magazines with a new one with greatly increased damage. Now, many people may throw stopping power on the assault rifle or the SMGs. A lot of people sleep on just how powerful these things are on sniper rifles. As I mentioned earlier, snipers in Warzone get a lot of hit markers due to the high time to kill, but if you throw on stopping power, you will greatly increase your chances of getting a one shot to the body. So, if you find stopping power rounds, I recommend throwing them on your sniper instead of your automatics. It's going to give you a lot of extra wiggle room when taking shots from range, and anything that increases your odds of getting a one-shot kill in a Battle Royale game, well, that's a good thing. And finally, for all of you beginners, take the M4. I think we're all just accepting at this point that it's never going to be nerfed. The M4 in Modern Warfare really is the BAL from Advanced Warfare. It's the all-around best gun in the game, and that applies to Warzone as well. The fast fire rate makes it great for close range, the good range makes it good for mid-range, and the fire selector and the abundance of sights available, well, it makes it good for long range. I mean, it is the best thing around. It's a general rule of thumb. When you see an M4 on the ground, pick it up. When you make a custom class, make sure you have a custom M4 class in your loadout. You guys get the idea here. The M4 is the best assault rifle, the best SMG, and the best LMG all in one. So be sure to abuse it until Infinity Ward actually ends up nerfing it, which will probably be never. And there you have it, my friends. Those are 10 tips to get you started in Modern Warfare Warzone. It's a ton of fun. It is a very addicting game, and it has a lot of room to grow. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If it helped out at all, drop a like, and I'll see you soon.